I'm David Smith and I farm at Cloffrickford farm near Auchnagatt in Aberdeenshire. I've always employed young people, some of them long before they left school they came to work to me, and I think that if they really enjoy working on farms and things like that, it's a very interesting place to work. You get a different job every day. Well, mainly beef, Aberdeen Angus in particular, with suckler cows, and then we finish our thing right out. And we grow about 500 acres of cereals, somewhat for feeding the cattle and a lot of it's just for malting barley. No farm of any size at all can work without labour, because we've got a lot of farmers themselves have a lot of other jobs to do as well as just on the farm, and it is essential that you have well-trained staff to work with behind you. And I find the best way to train them is start them for leaving school. So if they don't pick up bad habits for other places, just pick up my bad habits. So they learn on the job, and you just have to take a minute's time to make sure they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and leave them to get on with it, really encourage them to think for themselves. Must be about 10-12 years ago now that it's getting more and more difficult to get local people. There was always plenty of people living in cottages and things like that, so you always had their family coming on and they want a job in the farm. But now there's less people working in agriculture and they're not living in the local locality and cottages and things like that, so you have to go further afield to get your labour. So the machinery ring was the ideal way. I'm really glad they've taken us on board to source apprentices and then matching them up with farmers there. So the farmers there just phone the machinery ring and say, look, I need another lad here just now, and the machinery ring gets someone reasonably local and with a bit of understanding and keenness to do the job. And they actually provide some pre-turning up. Before they turn up on the farm, they give them a wee bit of basic training, learn them the forklift courses and the first aid and things like that. So it just saves us, they don't come on completely green, they have a bit of knowledge. They do take time. They won't learn overnight, but it's surprising too, at that age, it's 16, 17, how quick they adapt and learn. I think when they come straight from school, that's the years you learn most, because your mind's still relatively keen and you can pick up a lot of information and your mind's keen to learn. The other week we call them there, at the weekend I was struggling with cattle myself, and just out of the blue, Colin turned up. He'd seen it on his phone that I was struggling, so he just jumped in his car and came and helped me. You know, so what more than that could you ask for? And Lewis is the same. He's off this week, but he says, if you have a problem, give me a shout. I'm only at home, I can come down right away. So when you've got workers like that, they're on holiday, but yet they're willing to step in if they're needed. And I think that's just part of the apprenticeship thing. They get to know you and you get to know them, and you learn to work with one another. Well, a lot of farmers say to me, I could be dealing with a young lad, but I'm not keen in this £12 an hour right off for a start. But with this apprenticeship scheme, they can start at a reduced rate, and then if apparently there's a newer scheme where you can go on for another year through SAC, but they're still mainly on the farm, and again it is at a slightly less rate. So they're training on the job, and they're gaining experience, and you are getting the benefit, and you train them the way you want them, they understand your farm. So when their time's up, their 2 years is up, they're as good as any other man because they've learned it all in the previous 2 years. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know, if you were young yourself once, so you really need to give them a chance and encourage them to come and work on farms, because the farms, we really need them. We need more staff on farms because they want to work themselves.